understand what our inner critic is, right? That little voice in our head that is constantly telling us that, you know what, you can do better and you can work harder. So I would like to show you guys something. So I hope everybody can see my screen now. So basically, your inner voice could be telling you that, you know what, this is a great opportunity and I will be able to learn something new. So I'm going to give it my 100%. Or your voice could be telling you that I've never done this before, and if I fail, I'm going to embarrass myself. Now, unfortunately, 90% of the times we tend to listen to this little devil. So I would like to ask you guys a simple question. If you failed an exam or if you lost your job, what is it that you would say to yourself? Let me know in the chat box what you would say to yourself in such a situation. Okay, great. So now what if we were to change the situation a little? What if I said that your friend failed an exam or your friend lost his or her job? What would you say to that friend? Okay, you say, bro, it's okay. Yeah, now you know what to work on. Nothing is an end, work on it. That's great. So many uplifting things to say to other people. Chill. Okay, that's great. So a lot of you actually have a lot of positive things to say about yourself, but there are also some of you who have said negative things to yourself in case you failed. So, you know, there's a big difference between the things that we choose to say to ourselves and the things that we choose to say to others. We think twice before using those words or statements that, you know, you would say to somebody else. You don't want to hurt anybody or offend anybody. So you try to be as encouraging and uplifting as possible. But when it comes to yourself, you don't apply the same thing, right? Now, negative self talk isn't just about saying that I'm not good enough. There are a lot of other statements that you say and a lot of words that you use to describe yourself that are actually contributing to your lack of confidence. So, I'd share a few examples with you so that we can all be a little more aware when we use such statements. So, if I say something like, nobody cares about me, I can never do anything right. Now, this is a very black and white approach to life, right? Everything, thinking of everything in extremes. Nothing happens in complete extremes. There is gray area in life. Is it really true that nobody cares about you? Can't be, right? There are people, your loved ones, who do care about you. And I can never do anything right. That can't be true either. Sure, you've made mistakes, but there are also things that you've done right. My relationship is going to end. My boss is going to fire me. So, whenever we find ourselves in a problematic situation, we tend to jump to the worst possible conclusion, like without actually considering the facts of the situation, we jump to the worst thing that could happen. So, if you have a minor fight in your relationship, you think, oh shit, my relationship is going to end. Or if you make a small error at work, you say, oh no, my boss is going to fire me. But really, if you consider all the facts of the situation, you know, it helps you be more aware and then you can rationalize the outcomes accordingly. She probably thinks I'm a loser or I'm not cool enough. Now, I'm sure we've all done this. We try to read other people's minds, and unfortunately, most of the times we think that they're thinking something negative about us. We never think that, oh, you know what, he thinks I'm smart. We're always going to say, what if he thinks I'm not smart enough, or what if he thinks I'm not pretty enough? So we're not psychics, you know, and majority of the times when you think that people are thinking about you, they're actually not thinking about you. And it's the worst possible scenario where they're actually thinking about you negatively. I can never forgive myself for what I did. Now, this is really important because we've all made mistakes in the past, right? We regret them. But the most important part is to learn from them. And your mistakes can only hold you back if you actually focus on the mistake itself and not what you learned from it. So, by constantly telling yourself that I'll never forgive myself, you're only holding yourself back. Now, ultimately, when you say all of these things to yourself, It's going to lead to low self-esteem, low confidence, and just a lack of willingness to do anything in general. So I'd like to ask you guys, have you guys ever used such statements to describe yourselves, or have you ever said such things to yourselves? Wow. So 94% of the people have said such things to themselves. Okay. And very few, 6%, have not. Okay. So our thoughts affect our feelings, and our feelings affect how we respond to a situation. Okay, so if your thought says, I'm not smart enough, you're going to feel demotivated and lack of confidence. And what is the result going to be? You're going to not put in your 100% because you've already decided that, you know what, I can't do it and I'm not good enough for this. So why should I even put in my 100%? It's fine. I'm probably going to fail anyway. Now, on the contrary, if you contrast it with a positive thinking attitude and you say, I can do this if I work hard, you're going to feel so motivated, pumped with energy, and super confident. And what is your behavior going to be? You're going to put in that extra effort to succeed. So you see, there's a big impact that the words that you choose have on your actual outcome. So in the example, like you saw, when you negatively portray yourself in your own eyes, you're not going to succeed at your task. But if you positively portray yourself, there are higher chances of you actually succeeding. Now, have you ever wondered where did we learn to be so mean to ourselves? Like, where did we learn how to say things like, you know what, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough? We must have learned it from somewhere, right? So, speaking from my perspective, from a little bit of experience and observation, negative self talk isn't entirely our fault. Now, I'm going to give you my own example. So, I was really bad at math as a kid. I mean, I still am, but I remember if I couldn't solve an equation or if I couldn't remember my tables well, I often had to hear things like, are you slow? Like, why can't you understand? And I'm sure a lot of us have been in this situation. Now, obviously, the people around us don't mean any harm, right? Our parents, our teachers, or anybody around you who has said such things to you does not mean any harm. But they don't realize that such words or statements have actually impacted our confidence in the long run. So, from a very young age, you hear things like, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not thin enough, but you're hardly ever told that you're good enough, you know, and that has such a big impact on how you think of yourself in the future. So, now if I fail at a project, I will think, you know what, I was slow as a kid, and what if all of this is just that, you know, and what if I'm going to keep failing in the future? But that's not true. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. But all of these statements have just been so hardwired in our brain now that we don't even realize that it's actually holding us back. Now, the good thing is that just like these beliefs were learned by us, we can unlearn them and we can replace them with a more positive attitude and with more positive beliefs. So, I'd like to share 3 techniques with you guys that you can use to change your negative self talk in order to be more productive and motivated. So, the first one is positive affirmations. Now, what if I tell everyone, don't think of a red dot? I'm pretty sure everybody just thought of a red dot, right? So the more you tell your mind to not do something or not think of something, it's definitely going to do that. So instead of trying to push your negative thoughts away, why don't we replace it with positive affirmations? So you could say, I believe in myself, or I can do it. I will give you an example of a positive affirmation that I use myself, which actually really helps me. So if I feel like my day isn't going to go well, or I don't feel like getting out of bed and just getting things done, I first thing in the morning I sit up and I say, today is a beautiful day to be productive, or today is a beautiful day to get XYZ task done. And just by saying these words, you know, it gives me that little bit of push, that little bit of positivity to get going and, you know, change my entire perspective about the day and just think like, you know what, maybe this day won't be so bad. So I'd love for you guys to share some of your positive affirmations with me that you would like to say on a daily basis just to get a little more positivity. So let me know in the chat box. Okay, that's nice. You got it, girl. I am capable of pulling this off. I can do it and excel in it. Beauty begins where perfection ends. Yep, that's a beautiful one. I can fail and still be alive. Of course. Okay, this is great. Thanks for sharing your positive affirmations with me. Now, I know that in the beginning, when you start saying such statements to yourself, it may feel really fake. Like, I'm just saying the words, but not really feeling it. Like, what are these positive affirmations? I'm going to say I believe in myself, but I don't actually believe in myself yet. But let me tell you that when you persistently tell yourself the same thing, it will sink in. And eventually, when you keep saying these positive statements to yourself, you will start believing in them. So you just have to be a little patient and you have to believe in it. So let's go to the next point, which is be willing to be imperfect. Now, we're all human, right? And we make mistakes, but the important thing is to move forward, grow, and learn from them. But a lot of times, society tends to put a lot of unrealistic standards, tends to set unrealistic standards for us. And we try really hard to be perfect and fit into those standards. But we forget in the meanwhile that we're human and there is no such thing as perfection for us, right? We're all doing the best that we can and we're just giving our 100%. And that's what really matters in the long run. Nobody's looking for perfection. We're all just going to do the best that we can. So, reminding yourself every day that it's okay to make mistakes, and I will make mistakes, but I will also learn from them. It'll make you feel so liberated and it'll actually help you be so much more kinder to yourself. Okay, so the third technique is the yes but technique. So, in this technique, when you recognize something that is not going well, you're supposed to counter it by recognizing something that is. For example, if I say that, yes, I didn't get too much done today, it was a lazy day, but yesterday I worked really hard and I got a lot done, so I can surely do it again. So, by just shifting your focus like this in any situation from the negative to the positive, will really fill you with motivation and it won't make you just, sit back and feel bad about the situation. So, it really just depends upon your perspective and how you look at a situation. So, it's really important to remember that every situation has a good and bad. It's up to you what you choose to focus on. Now, all of this being said, I know change is really hard. And just by reading a quote on the internet or by listening to a couple of talks, your life is not going to change, right? In the spur of the moment, nothing changes. It's all a slow process which requires patience, but every step adds up. And all of you guys being here and listening to this means that you all have taken one step forward towards being more self aware and making that positive change in life. And that is definitely something that you all should be proud of. So that brings us to an end of the session, but I would love to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to share something or share an experience or have a discussion, feel free to do that. So if you all have any questions, you all can just put them in the chat box and I can answer them one by one.